Well, Nancy, we're going to do something different today. You normally ask me a thought provoking question, and I normally take about 5 minutes before I can even answer. Today, we have John here with us, and he's going to ask you a thought provoking question.
So you want to see me ponder?
Definitely. Let's see how long you ponder on the thought provoking questions.
Ooh, that's really good.
Okay. So now we're going to turn it over to John and see what happens today.
Hello, my name is John, and then I would like to ask, why do other people feel the need to control other people? Are they afraid of something?
Ooh, that's a good question. People control other people because they don't know who they are. And they feel inferior. Eleanor Roosevelt says the only person that makes you feel inferior is you. So when we have the need to control other people, it is really a protective mechanism, or it is a power mechanism, because we don't feel significant about ourselves. So we have to lord over someone else to make us feel better. Or if we have been in a broken relationship and we get into another relationship that's a healthy relationship, we don't know how to respond in a healthy relationship. So we're going to control the other person, and that's more of a protective mechanism. So it can be one or the other reason. It can be because you yourself are feeling insignificant, or you yourself are feeling the need to protect yourself. So I'm going to control this person because I'm trusting this person. It's not really trust, I'm depending on a person. When I'm depending on a person, I'm going to control that person because I don't feel safe myself, so to speak.
It seems the more you try to control your own issues, the more it goes out of control.
Control is an illusion. So what does it even mean to control your own issues?
Well, I guess what I'm after is the more issues you got and you try to control everything, I guess my bad habit is I want to try to micromanage everything, do stuff myself, but you have to let things go. You can't control everything. I guess, how would you better control that, I guess?
Well, again, control is an illusion. And the reason why you feel the need to micromanage everything, because as we go into uncharted waters, we have more things. That's why you're saying you have more issues to control. Life's a journey, and the more you come onto that journey, the more you get into uncharted waters. The more you get into uncharted waters, it requires gift sets of you that you've never had. So it's really letting go. But the more we let go, the more uncharted waters comes our way. So we're going to hold on for fear. Fear of what's going to happen to us. Fear we're out here and we're going to sink. So again, it goes back to we don't want to let go. We are protecting ourselves.
I think I've learned a lot the last 5 years to let things go, because you can't control everything, and you need to learn to trust people too.
Learning to trust people really starts with trusting you. If you don't trust yourself, you can't trust other people. So it's really, when we talk about we have to learn to trust other people, delegation would be a huge thing. For leaders, delegation is a huge thing. That's because we want to take the tasks, the responsibilities. Everything is on us. And a lot of times it's because we are in a situation that everything reflects us. It's, it's our word, it's our integrity, it's our character, it's everything reflects us. And so we're not going to delegate because we can't trust people. That's what we say. When reality is we don't trust ourselves. When you learn to trust yourself, you learn to let go.
So you're basically saying like a sixth sense or an instinct about people?
No, I'm saying about trusting yourself. I'm saying about really knowing who you are and being able to trust yourself. Okay, if you're gonna make a mistake, that's okay. It's not the end of the world, because you know that mistake doesn't define you. If you don't trust yourself, that mistake can actually destroy you. So it's really about after all, that's all I have, right? I have to live with myself all the time. So you might as well like yourself, and you might as well trust yourself. Because if you don't trust yourself, as James and I were talking about earlier this week, if we don't trust ourselves kind of they kind of do their own little thing.
Well, one thing I'm hearing, John, when he uses the word control, he's a business owner. So a different word that John would use is giving away responsibility.
That's kind of what I was talking about, delegating.
Yeah, where John's hearing from responsibility. And then what I'm hearing John say is then you almost have to trust yourself, but you also have to have an intuitive of who you're going to give that responsibility away to.
Exactly.
Is that
That's what I'm kind of after, yeah.
Well, it goes back to trusting yourself.
Yeah, but I definitely sit over here too. How do you come to yourself?
Okay.
This is really a good question.
It is. It's a really good question because here's the thing. Okay,
because
if
I'm
you
over
trust,
here. I'm
Go
over
ahead.
here feeling exactly what John is. Yeah, okay, but I still have to know who I'm giving it to, because I almost have to trust them. So I would have to have an intuition. I would have to be able to have enough knowing that I should give this person to it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
If I trust myself and I know who I am, I'm now going to know what I need. I'm now going to know what my weaknesses are. And that's what leaders do. They surround themselves. They know what their weaknesses are. So they find people that their weaknesses is their strengths. Not my strength, but my people's strength. Okay, that's delegating. That's what I mean by trusting others. If I trust myself and I know who I am, then I'm going to be able to find and attract those people that I need around me to delegate. Because we're talking about when we know, not again, a great thing about a leader, you don't have to know it all. As a matter of fact, the leader doesn't know it all. That's why we can say together we do great things. So if I know who I am, meaning I also know very clearly where my weaknesses are, I am then going to start looking for people where my weaknesses are is their strengths.
There's always that person that fools us. And what we started off with, you almost have to, why do people think the way they do? Because in tendency, if I know the way a person thinks, then I can at least guard myself against it, right? Does that make sense?
Exactly.
John?
And again, if I trust myself, it doesn't matter what people think.
But you can make a mistake and you can...
And you're going to be okay.
You will.
Because
you can't be right 100% of the time.
No. That's the great thing about trusting yourself. Allowing yourself to fail. Because that's part of being successful is failing. Nobody has ever been successful without failing.
That's true.
So when we don't trust ourselves, we don't allow ourselves to fail, so we're not going to delegate. But when we actually say, so now we're going to be concerned, we're protecting ourselves, we're going to be concerned about, oh my goodness, what if I misread this person? What if I give this person a position and it's not for them, or they were fooling me? And I say, so what if you do? It's not the end of the world. Because guess what? That's a learning. That's learning.
What does John do with his responsibility, though? Because if you fail, then you're also responsible for other people around. Does that make sense, John?
Yes, I feel like if a contractor fails, it fails me, or I feel it. There's some contractors I trust. I totally give their name out to everybody, but there's some contractors' numbers I drop because I don't trust them. They do shoddy work, and I don't deal with that.
Again, that goes into trusting yourself.
Right.
So you're not going, again, when you trust yourself, you also know, a leader knows that the most valuable thing they have is themselves. Their name is the most valuable thing. When you work really hard for your name, when you know exactly what your name represents, then again, you're going to trust yourself, and you're not going to give it out to just anybody who comes along.
Exactly.
There's going to be certain qualifications, and what we're talking about when you trust yourself, okay, when you trust yourself, you're not going to be looking for someone to fill the task. Anybody can do work. When you trust yourself and you know who you are, you're going to start looking for character. And yes, there may be times when you make a mistake in a character where, somebody can actually fool you in a character. That's what I'm talking about. That's failure. So, you know what? You're going to learn from that, and you're going to be able to say, okay, next time you're going to be able to see that coming. But the truth is, people cannot fail. They cannot, there's that quote, they cannot what's the word, funk. Fake the funk. They cannot fake the funk, exactly. That would be character. You cannot fake your character. At some point in time, your character comes out. You can present yourself as a person of integrity. You can present yourself as a person that's trustworthy. But at some point in time, that character is going to come out. You can't fake it. So when we trust ourselves, there are certain qualifications in character that we already know a person has and doesn't have. Okay. For instance, it comes down to what are very important core values to you. Okay, if a person is supposed to be trustworthy, if that's a very core value to you, then when you set up an interview and that person is 10 minutes late, that automatically disqualifies the trustworthiness, unless they have a really good example, saying, maybe they got caught up in a traffic or something like that. But those are things that, again, when we look at people's character, then people don't, you're going to, when you look at the task, you're more open to making mistakes and putting people in the task. Because again, anybody can do task. But when you look at the character, that comes, again, darkness comes to light. And when it does, if you have been fooled, that's something that you can learn. It's a lesson you chalk up. It's a failure that you chalk up. But because of who you are, and because you trust yourself, okay, say it was a subcontractor. You're not going to, that subcontractor may have messed up. You're going to go make it right with the client, okay? Yes, the client, it reflects on you, that's true. But is the client going to hold it against you because you gave somebody a chance because you honestly thought they were trustworthy? No. Do it again? Yes. That's why we call failures, because you learn from your failures.
Is that another word for a clear conscience? 'Cause I think that's very important to me.
It's called integrity. It's your yes is yes and your no is no. When you promise something to the client that you're going to follow through. So again, when you know who you are and you trust who you are, you're also not going to overcompensate to the client. You're not going to say, oh, I can do this and this and this. And then you have to spend who knows how long to try to find somebody to do that because you couldn't do it. When you know who you are and you're very trustworthy, you're going to be able to stand in front of the client and say, I can do this and this because, again, it's in your abilities. But then you're going to be able to say, if you can do this, then you also know, because you have the experience in it, you can also hear there's certain questions that you ask a person sitting across the table from you, and you can see, is this what they do? Is this, again, when you focus on who you are, you're not going to focus on tasks. Anybody can fool you on task. But they can't fool you on character.
And I like John's question on clear conscience because, again, you said something really key, as you know yourself. Your reputation's out there. Mm-hmm. So when you start delegating, you're not guaranteed that they're going to do it. I mean, again, there's always that. So you rather just do it yourself because then you know that you got clear conscience. You know that it's going to be done.
That's exactly, I would agree with that, James, but here's the problem of that. Okay, then you can only go as far as you can go. Because, again, you're focused on the task. If you're focused, again, if your purpose is just to keep yourself busy, then by all means, you don't have to worry about that. But if your purpose is as far as you want to leave an impact, we can't leave an impact by ourselves. We have to bring people with us. And so, yes, I would agree what you're saying. Your reputation is out there. But here's the question, okay? Can one person destroy your reputation? Is it that weak? If it's that weak, then you need to look at yourself. You need to look at your character. You need to look at who you are. If it's that weak that one person can destroy your character, can destroy your reputation, then you need to look at you. Then possibly you are the one who has a shady character.
So what I'm hearing is like you have people that you work with and you joke with them every day. So everything they say about you just kind of bounces off you. So you got to be like that.
Again, when you know who you are, that means your core values. What exactly do you want? You look into the. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, actually, I like what you're saying. It is almost. You're almost going to end.
Basically, like a brother, basically.
Yeah, it's not. You're not going to take it personally. And I think where you're going, John, is another question that goes there. That a business owner like yourself and with high integrity, am I a failure, or did I fail? and that's where Nancy's bringing in this. So, am I a failure? Because you're right. That brother relationship, in that relationship where you kid around and it bounces off, you both have a trust. You're all both going to fail each other, and you're tough skin. Go ahead.
I think you actually know each other on a personal level.
Yeah. Well,
Therefore, it doesn't really offend each other.
exactly.
Because the person is joking about you, but here's the thing, okay? You say that the person, so okay, let's just say that the person calls you an a-hole. Okay. You're going to let that bounce off because that person knows you personally.
Yeah.
So, but if a client who doesn't know you, a stranger who doesn't know you calls you an a-hole,
That would offend me.
okay, and that's what I'm getting at. Are you an a-hole?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
There you
Knowing who you are. Are you an a-hole?
Am I and an a-hole would be, am I a failure?
Am I a failure?
you gonna
Exactly.
allow that
Because
person
here's
to
the thing.
define you?
The person who is saying that to you, there's truth in sarcasm, right? So the person who's saying that to you jokingly, okay, that you just because you know who he is or she is, so you're just going to but if a stranger tells you that, you're going to take it personally. The question is, are you that? Because if you're not that, then it doesn't matter if a person who knows you or a person who doesn't know you calls you that. Doesn't matter. That's what we're getting at. That's what I'm talking about. Trusting yourself and knowing who you are. Okay, because we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and so in a business, in the company, if you make a mistake, you own it. You own responsibility, and you go make it right with the client. Okay, the client isn't going to hold that against you on your reputation unless you're making the same thing over and over again. Then that's a character flaw. That's not a mistake. So we have, again, nobody has been successful without making mistakes. But it really comes down to, okay, when you have strangers telling you that this is who you are and it offends you, that is basically because, okay, again, you have to ask yourself, is this who I am? If you are, then own it, live it, embrace it. But if you're not, then whenever anyone calls you that, it doesn't matter if the person knows you or doesn't know you, it is not for you to take because that's a lie.
So people who feel the need to control other people don't really know who they are.
Exactly.
That was a full circle.
That was a really full circle. But who I am, I'm not going to be threatened by anybody around me. And when I know who I am, I'm going to reach down, as Stephen Covey says. When I find my voice, which is knowing who I am, I'm going to reach down and help the next person find their voice.
Well, this has been good. Any other questions, John, you have for Nancy? We've got some good stuff going on here today.
Not at this time.
Nancy, do you have any closing statements?
No, it was a really great discussion. I definitely liked the questions, and I don't think I possibly pondered. You know, you had said earlier you pondered for about 5 minutes,
I'm
just kind of wondering. You know, I possibly could have pondered for about 5 minutes. You know.
Yeah, nothing compared to what I do. So it didn't really, but it was good. But nothing compared to how I ponder. So
there you go.
But, you know, there's always another podcast.
There really is. That's a true statement.
OrangeRoseServices.com. Check us out. Email us a line. Also, give us questions to Ponder Nancy. We would love to have it. You can email me at james@orangeroseservices.com. And have a fantastic week.